What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Chop Shop for the NBA. And I'm your host, Head Chopper. And it is Friday, and we are about a day out from the NFL wildcard weekend kicking off. But before then, we've got a nice little slate of Friday night games here. And I'm here to walk you through a few plays that I think are fadeable guys and some guys you can play in their place that I think have good upside tonight. I'm going to stick in the price range here, not necessarily the position, but the price ranges. I want to match up some prices here and see some guys that I think can be chalky and some guys I think you can play otherwise. A good thing to do here is to check the RotoGrinders incentives page and look for the ownership projections on these games because they are fairly accurate here, and you can always find guys that are highly owned and guys that project pretty close to them that are much less owned. And in tournaments, that's the way you should probably play it more or less. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get right to it. Let's start off in the high price range here. I'm going to look at a guy like Giannis and say that I think he's fade worthy, although he's an incredible cash game player because his consistency and his floor is through the roof. It's off the charts. But in a tournament, I can see the merit to fading him at this elevated price tag. So a guy I'm looking at in a similar range, but you still save quite a bit of money actually, is Karl Anthony Towns. The good thing about Towns is that he has a brief history here against Washington. In 2 career games against him, he's gone for over 46 DraftKings points on average. So there's nothing here about this matchup that scares him off. He can match up real well with this team. He's had a couple days rest, so he should be nice and fresh. And you look at these two guys side by side in their game logs throughout the year, and obviously overall it favors Giannis, but the single highest scoring game between these two guys this year belongs to Karl Anthony Towns. He's the only one out of these two guys that's cracked 80 DraftKings points this season. So, he's got upside, massive upside. Probably not as safe of a floor, but this is a tournament. We want some guys who can get out there and score. I think you can save some money and get a monster point total tonight in a nice matchup for Karl Anthony Towns. So let's go down now to more of a mid-range play here. And I'm looking at the center position for both these guys. A guy I think is going to be chalky, Al Horford, because I think a lot of people caught on to him. He's putting up monster numbers here in Boston. He's got a decent matchup tonight. He's got a good price tag, so I think he's going to be a popular play because typically on the slates where there's around 7 or 8 games and he's out there and he has a decent matchup, he's drawn a lot of ownership. So I think he's going to be chalky. I also think you can fade him for a guy who's less chalky and has a chance at a even bigger game than him. That's DeAndre Jordan from the LA Clippers. The price tag is a couple $100s more around the industry than Al Horford. So I think he's going to be the lesser owned guy by a mile. But the thing about Jordan is after a little lull there with all the injuries to the Clippers, he's now starting to kick it into gear and do what we thought he would do. And 4 of the last 5 games he's played, he's exceeded 40 fantasy points. So he's starting to catch fire here. As an added bonus, if we get Chris Paul back in this game, it can only enhance DeAndre Jordan. He will become a more offensive threat as opposed to just the rebounding and shot blocking. So I actually welcome the addition to Chris Paul if that happens. And if it doesn't, you're still getting a great player who, like I said, took 40 fantasy points in 4 of the last 5 games. So I think Jordan has a lot of upside here, more upside than Al Horford. I'll be playing him in tournaments. Last but not least, let's go a little bit lower in price range here. So chalky since the Dellavedova injuries and all this stuff going on in Milwaukee, Malcolm Brogdon has become a very chalky option, even with the price tag climbing up there. So I say Brogdon, definitely a fadeable guy. He's had some nice games, but I'm definitely willing to fade him here, no doubt about it. So a guy I'm looking in the same price range, Houston, Ryan Anderson. I think Ryan Anderson makes for a very, very intriguing play tonight and a guy I'm going to have on some of my tournament teams. The big thing here is Houston played last night, so it's a back-to-back. And typically you want to avoid guys on back-to-back, veteran players especially. But In the case of Houston, it's not like that. We've seen throughout the year and throughout the last couple of years, James Harden excels in back-to-backs. He's actually very, very good in them. Ryan Anderson this year, as a new member of the Houston Rockets, is kind of taking up the same scenario right there. I think it's 8 games this year on the second end of a back-to-back. He's gone from a season average of 14 points and 5 rebounds, and he's improved it on the second end of the back-to-back up to 17.6 points and 6 rebounds per game. So he gets stronger on back-to-back. D'Antoni plays these guys just as much in this scenario. So I think you're in good shape here. I think it's a good matchup for Ryan Anderson. I think he can do some damage tonight. He's hit over 30 minutes in the past 3 games consecutively, so the minutes are there. What you want out of him is for that outside 3-point shot to be falling. If it is, then you've actually absolutely struck gold in tournaments with this guy. So I'm willing to take that chance in tournaments over a guy like Brogdon, who I think has a much lower ceiling tonight. So that being said, guys, enjoy your Friday night. Get out there and play a little bit, get some tournament action in there, and I'll catch you guys next week. Good luck.